my dear students. I welcome you all back to this online learning platform with me. I am Shyam Panchal and I'm going to give you this lecture on behalf of Taksh-shila Model Senior Secondary School. So students, आशा करता हूँ आप सभी अच्छे हैं. You all are enjoying yourselves. And I also hope that the lectures that I deliver here, you all understand them. Not only the lectures that I deliver, but the lectures delivered by other teachers also on this virtual platform. You study them very well. So students, आज का topic जो हमारा है, it's a very inspirational story that is about the life of a great scientist of India, who is also known as the Missile Man of India. And this chapter has been taken from class 9 book Beehive, and this is the chapter number 6. The title of the chapter is My Childhood, as you can see on the board. And in this chapter we are going to read about the life of APJ Abdul Kalam, especially his childhood experiences. I have written few points on the board, and with the help of these points there are overall 10 points. So in 10 points की help से हम इस chapter को समझेंगे. One more thing, this is not an ordinary chapter, or this chapter is not about an ordinary man. This chapter is about APJ Abdul Kalam. You all know about him very well. APJ Abdul Kalam had very diverse experiences in his childhood. And let me tell you one thing, the childhood experiences of ours have much to teach us. And these childhood experiences have the capability to mold our future. These childhood experiences judge what kind of character we are going to have. So similarly, in this chapter today, Abdul Kalam has learned many things from his childhood experiences. तो आइए उन सभी childhood experiences के बारे में हम पढ़ेंगे. इस chapter के अंदर कलाम साहब ने अपने childhood के बारे में बताया. उन्होंने अपने father, mother और अपने brother in law, अपने cousin और World War II का भी जिक्र उन्होंने इसमें किया है. And there are many other things. Let me tell you, when somebody writes something about himself, means when somebody tells the story of his own life, he not only tells about his personal events, right? He does not even tell about the anecdotes from his personal account of life, right? But he also tells us something more about the socio-economic background. He also tells us about the social conditions prevailing in that period of time, or in that age. So here in this chapter we will learn about World War II and what actually happened at a particular place, the place where Abdul Kalam lived, right? So here this chapter has been written by APJ Abdul Kalam. Actually this chapter is an extract from his autobiography, which is titled as Wings of Fire. So this is a small extract taken from his autobiography. So the author is APJ Abdul Kalam himself. About the title, My Childhood. What do you know about my childhood? So since APJ Abdul Kalam is going to tell us about the incidents which he experienced in his childhood, so he has entitled this chapter as My Childhood. So in this chapter we learn all the small but most significant events of his life. Right? What kind of religious situation was there at that time in Rameshwaram? Rameshwaram is the name of the town where he lived. It is situated in Tamil Nadu. Right? So let us now move on to the detailed explanation of this chapter. I hope you will enjoy this chapter with me. Students, here we have point number 1. Point number 1 says Kalam's birth. Kalam was born in the year 1931. He was born in the middle class Tamil family. The place where he was born, Rameshwaram, is actually a small town in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu, which was earlier Earlier here means when Abdul Kalam was born, especially in 1931, this place was known as Madras. But in present day India, this place is known by the name Tamil Nadu. Later, Kalam writes about his father. He tells that his father's name is Jainul-abidin. Jainul-abidin, who did not receive much formal education, nor did he have much wealth. Despite of these disadvantages, he had what? He had great innate wisdom. Innate word means inborn, means he was born with great wisdom. And he had true generosity of the spirit. That means he was very kind-hearted man. Means he was always ready to help people. He was very generous. Kalam later on in this chapter tells something more about his father. He writes that his father was against any kind of inessential comforts. Though his father was very strict, still he provided all the basic needs. He provided for all the basic needs of Kalam and his brothers and sisters. Still, he was quite conservative. He was quite strict in terms of in terms of inessential things, right? Inessential comforts, especially. Then he writes something more. He writes something about his mother. His mother's name was Shyam. She was a very kind-hearted lady. She was a great inspiration to Kalam as well, because she used to tell Kalam the stories of stories from Ramayana and the stories of Prophet when he was very young, not only to him but to all the children in the family. This is further on told by Kalam in his autobiography. So Kalam's mother was a very kind-hearted lady. She used to feed a lot of people in her home every day, apart from the family members. Kalam here writes that he does not know the exact number, but she used to feed more than the total number of the family members in the house. Then we have Kalam himself in his house. What does Kalam write about himself? Kalam writes that he was not a very distinguished person. He was a rather short of height, and he was born with undistinguished looks, despite of the fact that his parents were tall and handsome. So despite of the fact that his parents were tall and they were very handsome, he was not so handsome. He was very short of height. Then he writes about his house. He tells that his house was built in the year, in the middle of the 19th century, and that it was a pakka house, built with limestone and brick. Pakka word. So students, let's just discuss this word pakka. The other spelling for this word can be P-U-K-K-A, pakka. So this word pakka has actually been taken from Hindi over to English. In Hindi, pakka means something that is complete, that is solid, that is made of concrete material, right? So pakka here in English means the same, solid. There are many words which have been taken from Hindi over to English. There is one word, you might have heard about it, loot. Loot in Hindi means to rob somebody, right? Similarly, in English, this word means the same, and this has three forms like loot, looted, and looted. Right? I remember one more word, that is dacoit. What does it mean? Dacoit. Dacoit in Hindi means dakat. This word has actually been taken over to English and it is pronounced as dacoit. Dacoity means dakati. So there are many words which have been taken either from Hindi or from Urdu into English. So his house was a pakka house. The opposite or the antonym of pakka is kacha. This is the antonym of pakka, kacha house. So students, here let us now move on to the point number 5 that says the World War II and his first wages. In this chapter, Kalam writes about World War II. He says that he writes that when World War II broke out, do you know when World War II broke out? Yes, it broke out in the year 1939, and at that time Abdul Kalam was only 8 years old. So what happened when World War II broke out? Kalam writes that when World War II broke out, he just wondered why the prices for tamarind seeds rose. He just wondered this. He did not have any reasons for that, and what he actually did. He just started collecting the tamarind seeds and he used to sell them in his street, the Mosque Street, to a provision shop. And what did he get in return? In return, he used to earn us an amount of 1 anna. 1 anna. Here, anna is actually a unit of currency. 1 anna, let me tell you, 8 annas is equal to 50 paise. So 8 annas is equal to 50 paise and 16 annas is equal to 1 rupee. So 1 anna, we can say 1 anna is equal to 1 upon 8th part of 50 paise. Right? So now you can figure out what was the value of money at that time when Abdul Kalam was just 8 years old. Kalam used to get some news about the World War II from his brother-in-law Jalaluddin, right? Jalaluddin was his brother-in-law, and he used to get the news about World War II from him. Later on, he received or got news about the World War from the daily newspaper which was published in Tamil Nadu. It was Dinamani. The name of the newspaper is mentioned in your book. Second thing is that what were the other things that happened during the World War II? Things in the beginning were going smoothly in Rameshwaram, but later on, when when the Indian forces had to join the allies for World War II, what happened? A kind of state of emergency was declared in the small town of Rameshwaram. And what happened when emergency was declared? What is emergency? Do you know? Emergency is a state in which the president's rule is implemented and the privileges which are given to the citizens of a country are withdrawn. What kind of privileges? The privileges of staying out from your house at your will, the privileges of earning your keep, the privileges of just running your family, marrying and all. And there are a lot of things, especially the freedom, right? The freedom that you enjoy is just taken away from you when emergency is clamped in an area or in a country, right? So when the emergency was implemented in Rameshwaram, what happened? The biggest casualty came in the form of suspension of train halt at the Rameshwaram station. So when the Indian forces joined the fighting allies in the World War II, what happened? That first of all, emergency was declared in Rameshwaram, and the result of emergency was that the trains which came from the other parts of India to Rameshwaram, they did not stop at Rameshwaram. They went straight away. Right? So now Kalam here writes that his cousin Shamsuddin was actually a newspaper distributor in Rameshwaram, and he used to distribute newspapers. So he had a lot of difficulty in carrying out his job because the trains did not stop at Rameshwaram station. So what happened? The newspapers were actually bundled and they were thrown out of the moving train. And for this task, Shamsuddin actually needed some person, right? He needed a helping hand, and Kalam filled this spot, filled this slot. He became helping hand for his cousin Shamsuddin. And this is how he started earning his first wages. This is how he started earning his first wages. So students, here we come to know how Abdul Kalam started earning his first wages. Kalam here writes in his autobiography that when a person earns his wage, earns his income for the first time, what happens? That the person's morale gets boosted and that person is filled with confidence. And this also impacts the course of future of that person. So here we move on to the point number 6, his 3 friends. Uh, Kalam here writes about his 3 best friends. The name of, before I tell you the name of these friends, let me just tell you how actually Kalam and these 3 friends of his behaved with one another. Kalam here writes in this chapter that though his 3 friends, whose name I will tell you later, though these his 3 friends were from orthodox Hindu Brahmin families, right? Still they never ever considered any kind of difference amongst themselves. They considered themselves equal. In terms of religious differences, though there were religious differences among themselves, still they did not find any difference of that sort. On basis of their upbringing, they did not find any difference. So simply we can say that at that time, in the small society of Rameshwaram, which was quite rigid in terms of social segregation. The word segregation here means separation, means the society of Rameshwaram was against any kind of social segregation. They did not want any kind of separation prevailing in society based on caste, based on culture, based on upbringing. Right. So now I tell you the names of 3 friends of Kalam. These 3 friends, the first friend was Ramananda Shastri. Second friend was Arvindan. Third friend was Shiprakash. In this paragraph, we will also come to know about their professions. Ramananda Shastri was actually the son of Taksh-shila-IX-ch-6. He was high priest at the Rameshwaram temple. And after his father, he just got the priesthood, right? The second friend was Arvindan. Arvindan went into the business of arranging transports to visiting pilgrims. Means Rameshwaram was a pilgrimage, and people used to come to this place to this place, and his friend Arvindan just provided transport to these people. The third friend, Shivprakashan, went into the business of he just became a catering contractor in the Southern Railways, right? So this is what we come to know about his 3 friends. But still, apart from this, there is one more incident that he writes in his autobiography, and this incident influenced his life. What was this incident? When Abdul Kalam was in Rameshwaram Elementary School, this is point number 7, when he was in, point number 8, when he was in Rameshwaram Elementary School, what happened? He was in 5th standard, and a new teacher came to his class. He used to wear a white cap which marked him as a Muslim, and he used to sit with his friend Ramananda Shastri, who was a Brahmin boy. When the new teacher saw Abdul Kalam sitting with that Brahman boy, Ramananda Shastri, he could not just stomach that thing. He could not stomach a Hindu boy sitting with a Muslim boy, right? So what did he do? The teacher asked Kalam to go and sit at the last bench. When Kalam stood up to make a shift to the last bench, he just took a look at his friend Ramananda Shastri, and he saw that Ramananda Shastri was in tears. He was weeping. Kalam here writes, he highlights this point. He says that even today, this that crying face of his friend Ramananda Shastri is reflected in his memories, and he just feels very bad about it. Right? He at that very moment he felt very bad about it. Both of them were feeling very bad. So when the school session was over, the children went their homes. Right, and Kalam and Ramananda Shastri complained of the teacher to Ramananda Shastri's father, Taksh-shila-IX-ch-6. What happened then? Ramananda Shastri's father called the teacher, and he just scolded the teacher for his bad behavior, for his bad treatment that he gave to the students. Ramananda Shastri's father warned the teacher against spreading any kind of uh, social differences, right? Or he warned the teacher that he must not spread any kind of communal intolerance among the society or among the children, right? He scolded the teacher, or he also asked the teacher either to leave Rameshwaram or to mend his ways. The teacher got a very good lesson from Ramananda Shastri's father, and he mended his ways, right? He moved on to the right path. Later on, he never considered any difference. He never took any difference among the students, right? Then we move on to the point number 9, Society of Rameshwaram. I have already told you about this society. Small society of Rameshwaram was very rigid in terms of social segregation, right? One more incident that I remember now, and it is quite clearly mentioned in your books. This incident is about Kalam's science teacher, Siva Subramanya Iyer. Siva Subramanya Iyer was a very good teacher, and he was against any kind of social difference, any kind of social segregation in Rameshwaram. Not only in Rameshwaram, everywhere. So Kalam here mentions an event. He says that once his teacher Siva Subramanya Iyer, who always wanted him to grow, who always wanted him to make progress, right? He wanted to see Kalam going outside and studying and being a person who is much more educated, right? He wanted to see him like an educated man. So what happened? This Siva Subramanya Iyer once invited Kalam to his house for a meal. When Kalam went to his house, he saw that his teacher's wife, who was a very strict and very conservative woman. Conservative means a person who sticks up to the old thoughts, right? Or old regime. So she was a very orthodox, she was a very conservative lady, and she did not like that her husband called a Muslim boy to her house for dinner, right? So she did not like it. And what did she do? She refused to serve Kalam food. But his teacher Siva Subramanya Iyer did not get annoyed at this reaction of his wife. Neither did he just say anything to his wife. What did he do? He himself served Abdul Kalam the food. They had a very good dinner at that time. When Kalam was just eating the food, the wife of the teacher was watching them, both the Kalam and his teacher. Kalam here wonders, did she find any difference in the way he ate, in the way he drank water, or in the way he just cleaned the floor after he had eaten the meal? When he was about to leave the home of his teacher again invited him for another meal. When next time Kalam went to his teacher's house, this time it was the teacher's wife who took Kalam to her kitchen, and she served food to Kalam with her own hands. Seeing this, Kalam was very moved, and he was unable to understand how such a miraculous change came over that woman. It was then Kalam's teacher gave him a very important lesson of his life. He said, if a person wants to change the system, that person has to suffer a lot. That person has to face a lot of difficulties. But that person is not supposed to give up before the circumstances. If that person is quite confident, he will surely change the system. Kalam received this teaching very well in his life. So students, now let us move on to the last point, that is Kalam's higher education. Kalam now sought permission from his father to leave Rameshwaram and go to the district headquarters in Ramananthapuram. Ramananthapuram was actually a big town in comparison to Rameshwaram. So his father quite happily gave the permission to Kalam to leave Rameshwaram and study higher, because his father also wanted him to become successful, to grow and develop, right? But when Kalam's mother heard this, she got upset, and she was against the decision of Kalam. She did not want Kalam to leave her, to leave Rameshwaram. Then Kalam's father, Janulabuddin, persuaded Kalam's mother by courting Khalil Gibran. Who was Khalil Gibran? Khalil Gibran was a poet. And this poet wrote a poem, Your Children. So Kalam's father quoted this few lines of this poem to Kalam's mother. He said that parents are just a means for children to become independent from the parents, right? Means parents can just teach their children, but they cannot impose their thoughts on them. The children are free in every way to frame their own opinion, right? This message was very well taken up by Kalam's mother, and finally she agreed to let Kalam go to Ramananthapuram. So students, with this we come to an end with this. Now there is only one thing that I have missed, and now let me tell you about this thing. During the annual Rama Sita Kalyanam ceremony, Kalam's family used to provide boats with a special platform on which the idols of the Lord Rama and Lourdes Sita were carried to a site which was in the middle of the pond, known as Ramatirtha. People reach that Ramatirtha place for wedding ceremonies, right? So this shows that Kalam and his family used to be a part of Hindu ceremonies as well. And this tells us that there was no difference among people in terms of religion, right? So now we have discussed this chapter, we have had a detailed explanation of the chapter. I hope that I have tried to explain this chapter to you in a very good manner, right? And now it is on your part to go through the chapter once more so that you can understand each and every point, right? Make it a point that you do not have to let any point go unattended. So students, the PDF file that I have sent to you, you just need to read the detailed explanation in it. Secondly, you just need to memorize all the word meanings which we come across in the chapter, and the 10 words that I always suggest you to write in the beginning of your chapter. When you write the chapter, you just need to memorize them, and you need to speak them, taking the instances from your day-to-day life. So students, very soon I'll be back with a new chapter. Till then, be happy, keep smiling.